Tonight, President Biden blasting Democrats trying to push him out, but is the drumbeat to step aside getting louder? The president defiant today in battleground Wisconsin, declaring, "I'm staying in the race. I'll beat Donald Trump." But the new report that an influential Democratic senator is trying to get colleagues to ask him to leave the race. Plus, major donors now demanding the president drop out. Also breaking tonight, the threat from Hurricane Beryl slamming Mexico and taking aim at the Texas coast. We're tracking it live, and more than 140 million Americans are sweltering under heat alerts as a dangerous new wildfire scorches California. The record travel rush, millions hitting the road and the airport this weekend. When is the best time to go? Holiday tragedy, 3 killed, more injured when a suspected drunk driver plows through a crowded New York City park, and the alarming new details we've just learned about that suspect. The stunning power shift in Great Britain, the new prime minister meeting with the king after winning in a landslide. Plus, more on those shark attacks in Texas and Florida. You'll hear from a survivor from her hospital bed describing how she fought it off and how to stay safe in the water this summer. And the new warning about sunscreen misinformation. Doctors describing the danger now being spread by social media influencers.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
And good evening. I'm Tom Yamas in for Lester. We start with major developments in the race for the White House. President Biden is facing a growing campaign crisis, but tonight showing no sign he is preparing to end his re-election run. Today in Wisconsin, the president saying despite some Democrats trying to push him out, he's staying in the race. But tonight, it appears his support is eroding further among elected leaders. The Washington Post reports that key Senator Mark Warner of Virginia is telling other Democrats that Mr. Biden can no longer remain in the race. And Warner is trying to put together a group of Democratic senators to ask the president to bow out. Warner's spokesperson not confirming or denying that report. Also tonight, the president is speaking about the issue in a primetime interview. Plus, he's planning a press conference next week as some Democrats demand he act quickly to show he has the mental fitness to continue this campaign. It's where we start tonight with Gabe Gutierrez in Wisconsin.
With his candidacy hanging in the balance, tonight President Biden looking for a lifeline in battleground Wisconsin, 8 days after that disastrous debate.
Can't say it was my best performance. But ever since then, there's been a lot of speculation. What's Joe going to do? Is he going to stay in the race? Well, here's my answer. I am running and going to win again.
The president speaking with a teleprompter at a rally in Madison, addressing concerns about his age head on.
You think I'm too old to beat Donald Trump?
Pressure has been mounting on the 81-year-old commander-in-chief. While some anxious congressional Democrats have called for him to step aside, others are weighing their options. Virginia Senator Mark Warner now organizing a group of his colleagues to meet to discuss what they believe the path forward for the president should be.
Well, Mark Warner, my understanding, is the only one considering that.
Big money donors also threatening to yank their cash from the campaign.
They're trying to push me out of the race. Well, let me say this as clearly as I can. I'm staying in the race.
And in an exclusive interview with ABC News' George Stephanopoulos, late today reiterating his debate performance was because he wasn't feeling well.
But your friend Nancy Pelosi actually framed the question that I think is on the minds of millions of Americans. Was this a bad episode or the sign of a more serious condition?
It was a bad episode. No indication of any serious condition. I was exhausted. I didn't listen to my instincts in terms of preparing, and I had a bad night.
You know, you say you were exhausted, and I know you've said that before as well, but you came, and you did have a tough month, but you came home from Europe about 11 or 12 days before the debate, spent 6 days in Camp David. Why wasn't that enough rest time, enough recovery time?
Because I was sick. I was feeling terrible. Matter of fact, the docs with me, I asked them, they did a COVID test because they were trying to figure out what was wrong. They did a test to see whether or not I had some infection, a virus. I didn't. They just had a really bad cold.
Nervous supporters, as well as his critics, now scrutinizing his every word, including this stumble at last night's July 4th celebration.
I probably shouldn't even say it anyway.
Meeting with Democratic governors this week, two sources tell NBC News the president suggested he'd like his staff to limit his events after 8 p.m. so he can get more rest. One of the governors he met with, Maura Healey of Massachusetts, is now urging the president to carefully evaluate whether to stay in the race. NBC News is also reporting that some Democrats say the president's debate performance was not an anomaly. One Democratic senator who declined to speak publicly telling us the country saw what those of us who have had personal interactions with him have all known for the last 2.5 years. To counter that narrative, today the Biden campaign announcing an aggressive travel schedule and $50 million paid media blitz to reach voters. Do you think this was just a one-night problem?
I mean, I understand the concern, but I think in the long run, he'll prove people wrong.
How difficult was it to see that debate performance?
It was very difficult, and in my mind, I was making all the excuses that a lot of Biden fans were making. But in the end, it's more what the American people think, and that's what scares me. I think he can do it.
And Gabe joins us live now. And Gabe, there is new reporting tonight on House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries and his plan.
Yes, Tom. Multiple sources tell NBC News that Leader Jeffries is convening a virtual meeting on Sunday with Democratic committee ranking members, and that it's expected to focus on President Biden as he faces calls to step aside. Tom?
Gabe Gutierrez leading us off tonight. Gabe, thank you. We now want to switch gears to the other story we're following closely, the path of that deadly Hurricane Beryl, now projected to hit South Texas as more than 140 million Americans are sweltering through a dangerous heat wave. Here's Priscilla Thompson.
Beryl ripping through the Gulf of Mexico tonight after slamming into the Yucatan Peninsula as a Category 2 storm with 100-mile-per-hour winds. The massive summer hurricane now taking aim at South Texas.
We're preparing for the worst, praying and hoping for the least amount of rain.
The storm already blamed for at least 9 deaths after tearing through parts of the Caribbean this week, carving a path of destruction.
I never really experienced a system like this yet, at this magnitude.
In South Padre Island, Texas, the storm sending some vacationers in town for the holiday weekend packing.
We're getting out before the hurricane.
As residents collect sandbags and prepare to hunker down.
It's always better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, you're not taking any chances.
Just being prepared.
This as 140 million people face heat alerts nationwide. More than 50 cities from the Pacific Northwest to Arizona expected to break record highs. In Northern California, another wildfire exploding overnight amid triple-digit temperatures. This one near Yosemite National Park. The fast-moving French fire already forcing evacuations. NBC's Steve Patterson is there.
Here in Mariposa County, whole neighborhoods are under siege. This fire came just feet away from this town. Firefighters able to stop it just in the nick of time. Look at how close it came to the football field, maybe 15 feet away.
Wildfires, dangerous heat, plus a hurricane on the move, all marking what could be another summer of extreme weather.
And Priscilla Thompson joins us now live from the Texas beach there in South Padre Island. Priscilla, Beryl has downgraded to a tropical storm, but the message is clear from leaders in South Texas.
That's right, Tom. Beryl is moving back into the Gulf of Mexico, where the water is up to 86 degrees, which could fuel rapid intensification, turning it back into a hurricane before it hits Texas. Tom?
All right, Priscilla Thompson for us. Priscilla, thank you. Let's bring in Bill Cairns, who's tracking it all. And Bill, concern is growing for Texas.
Yeah, life-threatening weather conditions are expected during the daylight hours on Monday. We're trying to pinpoint exactly who's most at risk, but a lot of people have to prepare this weekend. Yes, it's a tropical storm, but it's heading over the warm water. We have a little less than 3 days for this to re-intensify. The Hurricane Center has it doing just that, with a 90-mile-per-hour hurricane making landfall somewhere between Brownsville and Houston. That's the target area, with Corpus Christi there in the middle. All of our spaghetti lines we've been tracking, they're coming into excellent agreement in that general vicinity. So Houston, you're in play for heavy rainfall with this too, along with all of the eastern half of the circulation. Isolated totals could be up to a half a foot to 10 inches of rain in this region. If you know Houston, that means we could have some serious problems. And as far as the heat goes, Tom, watch the west this weekend. Areas in the deserts could head up to near all-time record highs.
All right, Bill, we appreciate that. And we are keeping an eye on what's expected to be record-breaking travel this holiday weekend, both on the roads and in the air. Priya Sridhar is in Atlanta. And Priya, how's it looking this weekend?
Hey, Tom, I'm at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson, the busiest airport in the world, and this weekend travel nationwide could make history. TSA projecting 3 million people will pass through their checkpoints across the U.S. on Sunday, which would be the most ever. Sunday is also expected to be the busiest day on the roads, with a record-breaking 60 million people driving 50 miles or more away from home this week. Travel experts say the best time to drive on Sunday is before 11 a.m., and Tuesday will be the best day to fly home. Also, try to keep it simple and travel with just a carry-on to avoid long lines to check in your luggage. Tom?
Okay, Priya. Here in New York, a 4th of July celebration ended in tragedy after a suspected drunk driver drove his truck into a crowd of people, killing 3 and injuring several others. George Solis has the latest on the investigation.
This surveillance video shows the terrifying moments before a suspected drunk driver plowed through a New York City park filled with families celebrating July 4th. Watch again. The pickup truck zooms past a pedestrian on the sidewalk and blows right through a stop sign. Then you see the sparks fly as the truck crashes into the park, trapping people underneath.
Responding officers who did arrive on the scene did smell some alcohol.
2 women and 1 man died, including Lucille Pinckney and her son Herman. 8 others were injured.
How much did you have to drink?
Tonight, fueled by outrage and heartbreak, loved ones of those killed screaming at the suspect.
And she has a son at home with no mother and no brother. Took 2,000 family in one shot.
Authorities charging Daniel Hayden with driving under the influence. Hayden, who police say suffered these injuries in the crash, works as a substance abuse counselor and even wrote this book about living with addiction. He's no stranger to legal troubles. Arrested in February for assault, and court records show in 2015 he pled guilty to a drunk driving charge in Wisconsin. No word yet on an attorney for the suspect. Tonight, that suspect also faces additional charges of vehicular homicide, assault, and driving without a license. Tom?
All right, George. Now to the stunning shift in power in Great Britain. A new prime minister winning election in a landslide. Raf Sanchez is in London for us.
Tonight, Britain's new prime minister arriving at Buckingham Palace.
Sir Keir Starmer, Your Majesty. Your Majesty.
Keir Starmer meeting with King Charles before heading to Downing Street to take office.
Have no doubt that we will rebuild Britain. Our work is urgent, and we begin it today.
Savoring the applause before getting to work.
Oh, this is it. Britain's new prime minister and his wife walking through that famous black door of Downing Street for the first time.
Starmer's Progressive Labour Party winning a sweeping majority, ousting incumbent Prime Minister Rishi Sunak.
I have heard your anger, your disappointment, and I take responsibility for this loss.
Whose Conservatives suffered their worst defeat in 2 centuries. Punished by voters angry over issues also facing the U.S., like inflation and immigration, and exhausted after the Conservatives cycled through 4 other prime ministers since 2016.
And Prime Minister Starmer speaking to President Biden earlier today, the 2 leaders reaffirming their joint support for Ukraine, and they'll meet next week at the NATO summit in Washington. Tom?
Okay, Raf, thank you. When we come back, we'll hear from a survivor of those holiday shark attacks and how to protect yourself if you find yourself in the water in danger. Welcome back. We want to go now to Texas, where officials are advising holiday beachgoers at South Padre Island to stay out of the water after multiple shark attacks. Morgan Chesky tonight speaking with a survivor who fought one off. And a warning, some of these images are graphic.
Panic on South Padre Island following one of several shark attacks.
I can't imagine that I actually had a shark attack. It's kind of crazy.
Holiday beachgoers watching in horror as rescuers pulled Tabitha Sullivan from the water, bleeding from a vicious bite to the leg.
I just thought it was a big fish, so I went to kind of kick it away. And at that point, I think it's when it bit me. And had I not pulled my legs up, probably would have got my torso or something else.
Kyle Judd caught the aftermath of the attack, including the shark responsible.
To witness the shark that did the attack stay so close.
It was crazy. He was literally circling right in front of as they were, treating her on the beach.
Just down the beach, Victoria Ramos shared her own frightening close call.
Little bite marks on my calf, but I'm all right.
In Florida, another victim recovering after officials say a shark bit a man's foot at New Smyrna Beach in knee-deep water. Experts stress violent shark encounters remain incredibly rare, with 36 unprovoked attacks reported nationwide last year. Tabitha credits her husband for saving her life.
He fought off a shark for me. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
With surgery, she now hopes to make a full recovery.
I'm thankful for all the support. And I'm alive.
And tonight, we've just confirmed the second shark attack in 2 days at New Smyrna Beach. That leaves one man hospitalized. Experts say if you are attacked by a shark, fight back and target the eyes, nose, or its gills. Tom?
Morgan Chesky with some advice tonight for us. Morgan, thank you. And coming up, the rise of dangerous misinformation about sunscreen. We'll separate fact from fiction after this break.
Make sure people know how to protect themselves.
As we approach the heart of summer, a warning tonight. There's dangerous misinformation about sunscreen circulating on social media. Ann Thompson tonight on what you need to know.
Just in time for the dog days of summer, a wave of misinformation about sunscreen flooding some social media sites.
The sun does not cause skin cancer.
I think sunscreen causes skin cancer.
Sunscreen is a scam.
As a teenage lifeguard, Jessica Jordan says sunscreen was not a priority.
When I was younger, I didn't wear sunscreen. I was in the sun 24/7.
In her late 30s, she says she paid the price.
I have basal cell carcinoma. There's so much skin damage that it cannot be undone.
That's what dermatologists like Jennifer Stein want people to avoid.
Damage can accumulate in your skin, which eventually could cause skin cancer and definitely ages the skin, gives you brown spots and wrinkles.
Skin cancer is the most common form of cancer in the U.S., with 9,500 people diagnosed every day. The most serious, melanoma, is expected to kill some 8,000 people this year. Sunscreen can protect you. There are two kinds, chemical and mineral. In chemical sunscreens, UV-absorbing ingredients, oxybenzone and octinoxate, can have toxic effects on marine life. Sunscreens with those ingredients are banned in Hawaii, Key West, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. If those chemicals are a danger to marine life, are they dangerous to humans?
Right now, we don't know. There's a question mark. So if you're not sure, you can just go with the physical sunscreens for now.
Those are the mineral sunscreens with zinc oxide or titanium dioxide. Doctors say you should use a water-resistant broad-spectrum sunscreen with an SPF of at least 30 and apply it every 2 hours. Prevention to make sure your fun in the sun is safe. Ann Thompson, NBC News.
And up next, one young woman's remarkable journey from repression to the American dream. Stay with us. Finally, they crossed oceans, rivers, and fled from the Taliban, all of it so their daughter could get an education. What that young woman just accomplished and where she's headed next. Here's Erin McLaughlin.
For most American high school seniors, graduation is a rite of passage. But for Zara Shanuri,
resilience knows no bounds.
It's a chance to break a cycle of oppression.
This graduation is just for my whole family, for all the girls in Afghanistan.
A year ago, Zara and her family arrived in the United States from Afghanistan, having fled her native country shortly after Kabul fell to the Taliban. Zara was in school when it happened.
It was so scary. I had my textbooks, and if they would see me, I didn't know that what will happen to me. So I hid them under my scarf.
The Taliban banned girls from attending high school. According to UNESCO, 80% of all Afghan girls were not in school as of 2023. But Zara's family's decision to flee their homeland was about more than her education. They were targeted for their religion.
You're Shia? Yes. And they wanted you dead? Exactly.
And so began a long and perilous journey to the United States. She says her whole family nearly drowned when their boat capsized off the coast of Panama.
We were in water for 4 hours. I feel that I'm not afraid of dying, but I'm afraid of being illiterate.
They were rescued by fellow migrants and now reside in a shelter in New York City. Her family beaming with pride when Zara recently graduated high school with honors. Zara says from here, her mission is clear.
I will do my best to do for my girls and women in Afghanistan everything possible.
Erin McLaughlin, NBC News, New York.
And congratulations to Zara and her family. That's Nightly News for this Friday. I'm Tom Yamas. Thank you so much for watching this week. Have a great night.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.